Today I would like to teach you how to do synthetic division on polynomials where you have imaginary numbers in them. Okay, sometimes this is also known as a complex number. Any case, how do we approach this? Well, the beautiful thing is that we're literally going to approach it exactly how we did prior. Okay, the 50 some odd problems I've done prior, it's going to be the same exact steps. All right, so if this gets a little confusing, take a look at the playlist. Just go back a couple of videos. I promise it'll make a lot more sense. In any case, what we're going to do, just keep in mind what I represents. I is an imaginary number, and it represents the square root of -1, which, by the way, do you know what the square root of -1 is? I don't. What two numbers multiply by itself to give you a negative number? Well, I don't know. Anytime you multiply two negatives, you get a positive, right? So that's why it's imaginary. It's not real. Anyway. Now what we're going to do, that we have that out of the way, we're always going to work first with your numerator. Okay, this is also known as the dividend. What you're going to do is you're going to locate the highest power of x in your dividend. In this case, it is a 1. And what you're going to do is you're going to add 1 to it. And what that's going to tell you is going to tell you how many columns you need inside of your synthetic division table. Take a look. Bam. So here are the 2 columns inside of your synthetic division table. Now, all you have to do, remember that what fills in this cell is going to be the coefficient of your x term. What fills in this cell is going to be your constant term. All right, we're just talking about that dividend, or AKA the numerator. So the coefficient of your x term up here is going to be a 1, right? There is an invisible 1 there, so plug in a 1. And your constant term is also going to be a 1 as well. So that's easy enough. You're done with your numerator. Now you got to focus on the denominator, also known as the divisor. What you're going to do is you're going to take that denominator, whatever it is, and you set it equal to 0. And you're going to solve that for x. And what that's going to do is it's going to tell you what value now you're going to need to plug into the outside part of your synthetic division table. So I have to plug in I. It's fine. Just think about it as a variable, as if it were A or B or C or something like that. So now, start the process. Simply drop down the first coefficient all the way down to the bottom. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take that value at the bottom, multiply it by the outside value, so 1 times I is simply I, and then, remember, you add now the results of this table, of this column. So that would just be 1 plus I. If the table continued, what you would then do is you would take this value, multiply it by that outside value, and then you'd put it in the next adjacent cell, all right? But our table doesn't go out any further than this, so we're going to stop there. Now keep in mind what these terms now will represent down here at the bottom. This will represent your remainder, and this will or part of your remainder, I should say, and this will represent your constant term. If you had more cells going that way, that would have been x and x squared and x cubed, and you can kind of detect the pattern. This problem isn't really the best to detect patterns. I would highly suggest you go back into the playlist, look for an example where it's like x cubed or something. Probably the pattern will be clear as day. So on this one now, before we start to now write out our quotient, because that's what this is going to help us solve for, the quotient, you got to make sure of one thing. You got to look back at your divisor. You got to locate your x, and you have to identify the coefficient in front of it. In this case, it's a 1. So what you'd want to do is you would want to divide all values except for the remainder by this coefficient. So since it's a 1, dividing 1 here by 1 doesn't do anything. So you can kind of almost skip that step, but I need you to think about it all the time. Always check yourself on that, all right? If it were a 2, then I would have divided this by 2, and my constant term would have actually been 1/2 now, all right? You don't do that to the remainder at all, never. All right, now, moving forward. So let's write out now the quotient. So all you're going to do is take your constant term, write it down. Then you're going to take your remainder, so it's 1 plus I. And remember, the remainder value you have here is always put over whatever your divisor is. So x minus I. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. This is technically now the quotient. So when you take this, you divide it by this, you get this. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I do hope this helps. And if it did, if you don't mind, like, subscribe. Helps us, supports us. Really appreciate it. And maybe even tell some of your classmates. All right, we look forward to helping you with more problems. Check out our channel because we have thousands of videos out there, not only in mathematics, but chemistry and physics. What's it called? Physics. Physics. That's what happens when your mind moves faster than your mouth. Physics. Take a look. We'll see you soon. Bye.